Sup Internet, this is Kevin from TechFest Lunch and Dinner with our full review of Fable 3 for the Xbox 360. In this installment, you play as the child of Fable 2's hero, beginning the game as either a spoiled prince or princess, who very early on decides to flee the castle and help start a rebellion against their tyrannical older brother. The early on plot of the game has a very epic feel to it, and it is by far one of the most engaging plot lines of the series. Graphics and sound are almost identical to that of Fable 2, with only character models and some structures showing any signs of greater detail. Coupled with a soundtrack that shows almost no signs of change from 2, and you'll soon realize that 3's look and feel is for the most part identical to its precursor. Appearances aren't all that has gone unchanged. The game's combat system also feels ported over, as characters still fight using a combination of melee attacks, ranged attacks, and magic spells. Combat has also become a bit flashier, with the main character occasionally performing different finishing moves. Magic works the same as it did in 2, requiring players to charge spells to get their full effect, but it seems a little faster and thus a bit less annoying than it used to be. Furthermore, spells are now equipped through the use of special gauntlets, and eventually the player has the ability to combine two such gauntlets for combined spell effects, such as flaming swords. Interaction with NPCs is also unchanged for the most part, whereas characters can use good or bad actions to influence others' dispositions, and can eventually marry and have kids. One of the largest changes in the game is how the character advances his abilities. Now as you progress through the game, you'll be able to open a number of special chests by spending experience points, which while basically the same as before, carries one important difference. There is only one form of XP. As a result, your playstyle has no effect on how your character advances in abilities, so you could potentially use your sword throughout the whole game and could instead boost your magic power to the max. It should also be noted that combat abilities are not the only things you may gain from chests, as you can also learn more expressions to use with NPCs and gain new dyes to use on hair and clothing. Now, as anyone who has played previous installments would know, one of the central themes of Fable is making good or bad decisions and how such choices affect the appearances of your character. One of the new additions to this system is the fact that your weapons will also morph based on how you fight, including your alignment, what enemies you kill often, and what types of moves or spells you use to defeat enemies. The largest problem with this new system is that weapons morph even when you don't use them, and there never really seems to be a rhyme or reason as to which properties a weapon picks up based on your actions. It would have made more sense and would have been much more enjoyable if a weapon morphed based on its specific use, rather than just having all your weapons morph simultaneously, thus giving players a feeling of control over how their weapons develop. Overall, Fable 3 is a good installment for the franchise, yet after so many hours of playing it seems to fall short of its own expectations. What starts as a rather epic quest of revolution eventually devolves into a rather unimpressive later half, ridden with mostly quests that require you to wander around endlessly searching for collectible items like silver keys, books, flowers, demon doors, and even evil gnomes. It's still worth playing, and fans of the series will welcome its familiar feel, but beyond the first playthrough, I could barely justify it to myself to do a second one as an evil character, which is actually a rare decision on my part. All of this doesn't make Fable 3 a bad game, rather I would argue that the beginning of the game proves it to be the best yet. It's just that it fails to keep its own momentum up for the whole, and ends in a rather lackluster and disappointing manner. That's our review of Fable 3. I'm Kevin for TLD Today. Thanks for watching.